Okay, so I'm going to tell you about the story of Sadako Sasaki. Well, this is for Hiroshima Day. This is our cry. This is our prayer. Peace in the world. Sadako Sasaki was 2 years old on August 6, 1945, when pilot Paul Tibbett of the United States Air Force flew his B-29 bomber airplane over the city of Hiroshima, Japan. Unlike the many other B-29 bombers that had flown over Hiroshima the past days and weeks, Tibet's bomber, the Enola Gay, was much different than previous B-29 bombers. The Enola Gay carried an atomic bomb named Little Boy. By order of President Harry S. Truman, Tibet and his crew dropped one of the most powerful bombs ever created in the city of Hiroshima, Japan, and a population of approximately 350,000 people. The story of Sadako Sasaki, a young girl who lived through the bombing of Hiroshima and eventually died from leukemia, is just one of many stories from Hiroshima on August 6, 1945. Yet Sadako's story still resonates with many people today. So everyone, I'm in Japan right now. Sadako and family lived a little over 1 mile from the bomb's hypocenter. A blinding white light flashed through the city, and a huge boom was heard miles away when Little Boy exploded over Sadako's hometown. Immediately, fires broke out all over the city, and radioactive black rain began to fall from the sky. Sadako, with her mother and brother, escaped the fires. Sadako's grandmother was living with Sadako and her family when she turned back to retrieve some family heirlooms from their home. She was never seen again. Shigeo, Sadako's father, was not in Hiroshima at the time of the bombing. Shigeo reunited with his family after the bombing, and Sadako and her family returned to Hiroshima to build their lives. Like many others living in Hiroshima following World War II, the Sasaki family struggled with sickness, financial hardship, poverty, and the uncertainty of their family's future. They mourned the loss of their grandmother, neighbors, and home. The Sasaki family would also grieve for Sadako when she became sick with leukemia, called atomic bomb disease by some in Hiroshima, because the cancer was likely caused by the radioactive black rain that fell on Sadako and Hiroshima on the day of bombing. By all appearances, Sadako was a happy and healthy child. She was known to be a fast runner and popular with her classmates. That is why it came as such a surprise when at the age of 12, Sadako began to show symptoms of leukemia and had to be admitted into the hospital. While into the hospital, Sadako remained optimistic and resilient. Even though Sadako was sick, she continued to bring happiness and cheer to her family and friends. Sadako's was very happily the day the Red Cross Youth Club gave Sadako and the other children staying in the hospital origami cranes. Origami cranes were thought to help people who were sick become well again. Sadako's father Shigeo was visiting her at the hospital when she asked him, "Why did they send us origami cranes, father?" Shigeo answered Sadako's question by telling her the Japanese legend of the crane. Japanese folklore says that a crane can live for 1,000 years, and a person who folds an origami crane for each year of a crane's life will have their wish granted. The story of the origami cranes inspired Sadako. She had a new passion and purpose to have her wish of being well again granted by folding 1,000 origami cranes. Sadako began collecting hundreds of pieces of paper for her cranes. Sadako soon filled her room with hundreds of colorful origami cranes of all different sizes. After folding her 1,000th crane, Sadako made her wish to be well again sadly. Sadako's wish did not come true. She remained ill but did not lose her faith in origami cranes. Sadako began folding more cranes for her father's debt to be forgiven, her new wish. Sadako continued to fold cranes, some as small as a grain of rice, until her last moments. Surrounded by family with 1,300 origami cranes in her room and hanging overhead, Sadako passed away at the age of 12. When Sadako first realized how sick she was, she had many thoughts and questions. She worried about her family and if people could remember her. Sadako asked herself, how can I make the world a better place when I'm still alive? She wanted to leave the world a more peaceful place, and she shared those thoughts and feelings with her friends and family. Though Sadako did not know her impact on the world when she died, Sadako did make the world a better place. Sadako's resilient spirit and her origami cranes inspired her friends and classmates to raise money for a monument for Sadako and the children who died as a result of atomic bombings. Since 1958, thousands have visited the statue of Sadako in Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park. Sadako's figure lifts a large paper crane overhead. Inscribed at the foot of Sadako's statue is a plaque that reads, "This is our cry, this is our prayer, peace in the world." Now, okay, so we're in this website of India TV, Hiroshima and Nagasaki Day, 76 years of atomic bombing history. No, not 76, 77. No, yeah, 76 years of atomic bombing history, significance, and impact. Hiroshima, Nagasaki Day, 2021. The devastating atomic bomb attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II complete 76 years, remembered as one of the most deadly nuclear attacks in history. The incident affected thousands of lives in Japan, and the death toll still remains unknown due to its lasting impact that continued to show days after the attacks. In an attempt to carry out the twin attacks, the first atomic bomb was dropped on the western city of Hiroshima on August 6, 1945, by the U.S. bomber Enola Gay. Ironically known as Little Boy, the bomb affected an estimated 80,000 people and tens of thousands later died of radiation exposure. Hiroshima's devastation failed to elicit immediate Japanese surrender. Another bomb, Fat Man, was hurled 3 days later on August 9, this time over Nagasaki, killing an estimated 40,000 people. Devastation in the making. Known as the Manhattan Project, the preparation for Japan's devastation had begun nearly 6 years ago in 1939, augmented by a group of American scientists, many of them refugees from fascist regimes in Europe. In 1940, the U.S. government began funding its own atomic weapons development program, which came under the joint responsibility of the Office of Scientific Research and Development and the War Department after the U.S. entry into World War II. Over the next several years, the key materials for nuclear fission, uranium-235 and plutonium, were worked upon by the scientists. The bomb that first tested at the Trinity test site at Alamogordo, New Mexico, after which Hiroshima in Japan was selected as the first target. So these are the news of Hiroshima Day. What caused the news to bomb Japan? Inarguably, Japan had slim chances of winning the World War II against the US. Yet the then Emperor of Japan, Hirohito, vowed to fight the bitter end in the Pacific. In order to avoid a high casualty rate in the US, then President Harry Truman others got disturbed in between. Then President Harry Truman advised the Manhattan Project scientists to use the atomic bomb in the hopes of bringing the war to a quick end. The aftermath. 6 days after the bombing in Nagasaki, Emperor Hirohito announced his country's surrender in a radio broadcast. It is estimated roughly 70,000 to 135,000 people died in Hiroshima and 60,000 to 80,000 people died in Nagasaki, both from acute exposure to the blasts and from long-term side effects of radiation.